So last week I was talking about my Olympus, the 35UC, and before that I was talking about the Nikon F3. And somewhere in that last episode I was talking about how that camera did everything it needed to for me. And I want to talk about why I moved on from the UC, even though I said it did everything it for me, and what's enough, like why, like this chase to get new gear all the time, and sort of finding a happy medium, what makes the most sense that doesn't, send you broke, especially shooting film. Shit's expensive. So yeah, I love the 35UC. The images that I got from it are amazing, and yeah, it's just a fun little camera to carry around. It was my first film camera, or first manual film camera, sorry. There were a couple of limitations to it. I don't normally shoot 42mm, even though I was praising the 42mm. It's not a focal length I tend to lean into all that much. Like I said, I accidentally take really good, like photos that I really love with that lens, but there's a lot of other photos that I take that I'm just kind of like, I feel like it, for me, it's a bit of a trap of falling into taking, stereotypical photos, like cliches. And I want to try and avoid that as much as possible. Obviously, you have to, those cliches you fall into, and what other people are shooting are, it's somewhat inspired by, whether you want to be inspired by it or not. It's going to have it's going to have some sort of I guess influence over your work, because that's what you're seeing. Whether on social media, that's basically our main medium for consuming photographs. And I just want to try and avoid those cliches as much as possible. There was another factor, was, like I said, that ergonomics, it's okay in my hand, but I've got large hands, and I found, with the rangefinder in it as well, I found sometimes my hand cover the glass. Not really the rangefinder's fault, but there's a few where my hand was covering part of the lens. And it's not so much because of the focusing, it wasn't when I was focusing, it was more like if I adjusted the shutter speed at the last second, my thumb would just be, my finger would be slightly over it. Not a lot, but it happened a bit, and it was enough to be like, fuck it. I could just avoid that. But that being said, the shutter dial on the lens was not intuitive for me. And I didn't like having to pull it down and constantly check the shutter through the lens. And then obviously the lens itself got damaged, and the aperture ring and the shutter dial started separating and becoming loose, so I stopped using it. But before that came a real problem. I had Nikon cameras previously, and I had F-mount cameras, so I had, I don't have any mirrorless Nikons, but I had DSLRs, and those lenses from the basically D series back are all compatible with film cameras. So as long as it's got an aperture collar on it, it's compatible with the film cameras, unless you get an F5 and 6, maybe even the F4 is, you can use the G-mount lenses. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, I already had lenses. So when I was looking at getting another camera, I like shooting 28 mostly. That's my favorite focal length to shoot. And I already had that lens because I had it previously for my DSLR. So I was like, well, if I'm going to invest in a new camera, it makes sense staying within that ecosystem, because again, I'm shooting film, it's just for myself. There's a point where, the quality's not going to get that much better. It's going to come down to usability, like the quality of the glass and the quality of the photos, and what we view them on anyway, for most of the time, is a phone, which is ridiculous, but a lot of the time that's how we view it. So it doesn't really matter all that much about the quality of the lens so much. So I don't need to spend thousands of dollars on this gear where it's just like, well, the most I'll see it is on a 13-inch screen, and majority of the time we'll see it just on, people will just see the photos on a phone. Very rarely will they see them in print. So I was happy to keep my 28mm, which I'm shooting with at the moment, and the lens finally broke, so I can't actually focus it any further. I've just locked it into this position and I can't adjust the focus on it anymore. So RIP 28mm, it's time to invest in a new lens. But that was why I decided to move to a new camera system, is because I wanted to shoot 28. Having that flexibility with the interchangeable lens is huge as well. And the ergonomics and shooting style, I guess you will, the F3 was just much more familiar, having shot SLRs, for 15 years. And 15 years, that might be a bit much. Yeah, about 15 years, 15 years, or DSLRs for 15 years, and my cat spotted a bird, made that funny cat noise. Yeah, so that is the main reason why I moved from the fixed lens 35UC to the Nikon F3. In all that as well, there's that you get excited about buying new gear. There's that you start researching and looking around, gets exciting, and then you start just bumping up the budget more and more and more and more, and you're just like, well, I'm going to drop $3,000. That's it. I'm going to bite the bullet, and then before I did, I'm very happy I didn't buy it at that time, or half, or spend that much money on a camera, because I'm not shooting professionally at the moment. I'd like to, but spending that much money to then spend more money on film is it just doesn't add up at the moment, or at the time of when I bought my camera. And still at the moment, it doesn't make the most sense. So yeah, I was weighing it up and then trying to figure out what is enough, how much camera do I need? And what it came down to was, the interchangeable lenses. I want it to be manual, and unfortunately, like I said, the F3, it does require a battery. And I didn't mention this in the first one. My first F3, it chewed through the batteries. I don't know what was wrong with it. That was another reason why I was just like, oh fuck, man, I'm just burning through these batteries. So I don't know what was wrong with it, because everyone else was like, these don't go through batteries at all. And anyway, I got rid of it, and then I got another one, and I've only changed the batteries once in this, and I think it's on, maybe I've changed them twice, but that's over a year and a half, so you don't have to change them that much. But yeah, unfortunately it needs a battery. That's its biggest drawback. But everything else about it, I love the way it looks, I love the way it feels, and yeah, just being having had Nikon lenses already and just being able to interchange them, it means I didn't have to go and buy new lenses as well. So in a way, I only had to pay at that point whatever the price was for the camera. I think it was $500. It wasn't much for the body. So yeah, again, I was just weighing up. I'm like, well, one day it'll happen. If I was to buy I was looking at buying an M4 at the time, and it was like 2,400 Australian dollars. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll get this. And I was like, well, then I'm gonna have to get another lens. And then I was looking at lenses, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna spend another $1,200 on lenses. And I was like, fuck, by the time that difference will be like nearly $2,900 from the F5, like just buying the F5 body. I know I've already bought the lens, but I already had the lens, so it wasn't an extra out of pocket. I was already using what I had. I'm like, so I'm going to spend an extra $2,900 at the moment. I'm like, would I drop $2,900 on film in one hit? And I'm like, how many rolls of film is that? It's a bit. It's quite a few rolls. I can't work it out off the top of my head. Maybe, I don't know, what, like black and white's probably 200 rolls of film. It's a fair bit. That's a lot of film. Am I like, it's maybe 2 years of film for me. Like, I could get so much experience out of shooting 200 rolls of film that are going to make my photos better because I've gotten more experience out of it. Or I could buy a camera and start, not at square one, because I already know I've been shooting for a long time, but you're going to gain more experience the more you shoot regardless, and you're going to refine your style and blah, blah, blah. But my point is, you're, like, at that time, I couldn't just go and buy another 200 rolls of film on top of buying the M4 with the lens. And I didn't go out and buy $2,000 worth of film either. That's just, it doesn't make sense doing that. But I put it in that context and I was like, well, maybe I don't need that right now. And I don't need it right now. And I don't know if anyone really needs it. Maybe some pros need it, but it would be nice to have. And nice to have and what you need are very, very different. And you can still have something that's very nice to have that doesn't cost you everything. So, yeah, that was pretty much a little rant on moving from the Olympus UC to the F3 and why I moved up and why I decided to stop at that camera. So, anyway, we'll call it a day there, and we will be back, and we will rock you.